What would Britain do if a hostile nation flattened one of our consulates?
Well, we would take the very strong action.
And Iran would say that that's what they did?
Well, what they did, as I said, was a massive attack.
So they were right to respond, but they overreacted, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the attack they carried out was on a very large scale, much bigger than people accepted.
They have a right to respond?
Well, countries have a right to respond when they feel they've suffered an aggression. Of course they do. But look at the scale of that response. Had those weapons not been shot down,
respond, but they just overreacted.
There could have been thousands of casualties, including civilian casualties. I think that's a really important point to take into account.
What you're seeing in action with David Cameron is the impossibility for a Western politician to say with a straight face that there is one consistent rule applied to every country in the world and a single system of international law that everybody has to abide by. Because Iran is supposed to accept an attack on its embassy compound in Damascus, which killed 13 people, without any form of military response. But that would, of course, be completely unacceptable had that occurred to one of the UK's embassy compounds in a foreign country. Israel is able to respond to the Hamas October 7th attacks with a completely disproportionate, indiscriminate, and indeed genocidal assault on a largely civilian enclave of 2 million people. But Iran can't launch drones at military targets. Now, this isn't me sitting here and going, okay, what we're going to do is cheer for Iran. What I'm pointing out is that there is a completely inconsistent system at play within Western geopolitics and indeed political morality, because what they've done is hitched their apple wagon to, the flailing snake that is Israel, sort of, firing off and spitting in every direction. Israel can commit war crimes in Gaza. It can, launch a missile attack on Beirut. It can be fighting in the south of Lebanon and bomb an embassy compound in Syria. Those are incredibly provocative actions, whatever way you look at them. And no one else is allowed to respond militarily. Why? Well, because, Israel is one of the UK's allies. Now, I would have some degree of respect for a politician or indeed a journalist who would just pop up and say, you know what, the rules are different and we came up with them for reasons of political convenience. And what matters now is the UK's interests, not a system of international law that has any integrity. I would have a degree of respect for that honesty. But no one comes close to that honesty. Instead, what they're doing is this, crazy dance of saying, 300 drones, absolutely terrible. History began on October 7th, bombing an embassy, killing 13 people, completely fine. And even if it was a military target in Damascus, how do you think the UK would respond to a hostile state attacking one of our military targets? We would consider that an act of war and aggression.